Yeah, I didn't call her Annie. Some people did, I guess, but I didn't.
Now, wasn't Aunt Anne, your sister, wasn't she the one that was sent to a store in search of elbow grease?
She said what?
She was sent to a store to buy some elbow grease?
Oh. Oh, we all got that when we were little.
Yeah?
Yeah, you were told to go get some elbow grease. Right.
Pick up a
That was
dozen
Anne, but
left-hand
she's the only one that
slick
talked
while you're
about
there.
it much.
Oh.
Right.
I understood she went around asking at a store.
Yeah, she did.
Yeah.
She had a way about her. Anne was something, and then she got cancer, and it went to her bones,
Oh.
and it was so painful that we took her out of wherever she was and put her in a place where they could make her more comfortable, because she didn't have any.
Now, if I remember correctly, she and Jean used to come up, and they used to go, was it Northport, and they used to do square dancing.
Yes, they did. They loved square dancing. Thank you. I'd forgotten that one.
Yeah.
Gene was a perfect partner for Anne. He was. He's patient and loving and a lot of fun.
Neat.
And I don't know whatever happened to him. I really don't.
They're both gone now, but
They're both gone.
we're still in
Yeah,
touch
but
with
I
their
think
kids,
he died.
Stuart and Bruce and Holly and Wendy.
Yeah. Well, I can walk into the house in Brockton very easily because it's impressed in my brain if you walk in, and as I say, it was like a row house because the driveway went down around below there
Mhm.
and up on the other side. And if you went down to the bottom of the driveway, you could go through a little garden that Aunt Mattie had put there,
Mm-hmm.
and through the woods, and up on the other side you'd come out on the playground for the whole high school,
Oh, wow.
junior high school, and so forth. And Aunt Mattie was the one. See, there was Grandpa Tom. There was was Aunt Annie, who was the oldest, and she was superintendent of schools at one point.
Oh.
And she's the one with a very homely face, and when people later on in life would ask her why she never married, she'd go up like this and say, "Because I was never asked." And the way she'd say it, I can still do it. I can
Oh my
still
God,
see her.
that's funny.
But she had this sparkling sense of humor.
Neat.
It was fantastic. And Grandpa Tom also, and he was a wonderful, wonderful man. He's the one that had wanted to be a doctor, and they
Yeah.
wouldn't take him.
Yeah.
But he's the one I told him one day I was going to be 100 just like him.
There you go.
And he looked me up and down, and he says, "Oh, come over here," and stood me up and looked me all around. Finally, he said, "Of course you will."
Now you're
Just matter of factly, "Of course you will."
now your other siblings, Richard and Evan, we're called Ken. Yeah,
He was
Kendall.
never called Evan at home.
Now I'm trying to think. I know you're the oldest, and Ken was the youngest. Now I'm trying to remember who was older, Richard or Ann.
Richard was older than Ken.
So it was you, then Richard, then
I was
Ann.
myself, and then Ann.
Yeah.
I was the oldest. And then Ann. And then Richard. And
Okay.
then Kendall.
Okay.
Now, Richard had an unfortunate personality. he was determined to be it with a capital I and blah, blah, blah.
But he wanted to be a navigator. I remember, and you said that because he had color blindness,
He did.
That he
was-
wasn't able
thank
to
you.
follow-
That was
wasn't
the
able to
reason
follow
that-
his father's
That's why he
footsteps.
couldn't go in the Navy, because he was colorblind.
now
Or not the Navy,
I-
but whatever it was.
I know that Kendall was a Navy man.
Yeah, Kendall made it.
Yeah.
Kendall did everything that he really set out to do, and he was such a cute little kid, but he was determined to be in the right direction,
Mm-hmm.
and he did a pretty good job of it.
Yeah.
But I can just see he strutted when he walked. He was about this high, and he
Now you used to tell me that he would. I think he was playing football, and he was really good at getting around because he was so much smaller.
Yeah, that's true.
That he was kind of wiry.
Yeah.
Yeah. Neat.
Aunt Mattie was the one that had the garden down below and knew all about the flowers and plants and everything.
Because that's one thing I remember growing up is all the plants and
She's
flowers
the one
and names.
whose
Yeah.
twin died with her
Yeah.
head in a bucket. She was a twin. Anne had some problems along the way. Um, she, I can't think of them right this minute. She was pretty good.
Yeah.
Kendall was the baby of the family and managed to get himself into all the trouble there was to get into when he was real little.
Oh, he didn't follow the lead of watching older siblings
Not very well.
do stuff and learning not to do that?
That's right. That's sort of right.
Yeah.
I can remember walking up to the house, and as I say, the driveway went down around there, and there was another tall house right on the other side of the driveway. That was Mr. Snow's shop on the first floor, which was way up off the ground.
Mm-hmm.
And I went over there one day. My father had told me that that he emptied his pockets at night, and if there were any pennies that left on the dresser when he emptied his pockets, I could keep them.
Mm-hmm.
So I would always go and see how many pennies there were, and I had a pocket full of pennies,
Mm-hmm.
and went over to Mr. Snow's this one day, and which was up like a fire escape, actually. He was
Yep.
up on the second floor, but I went in there and I bought a 3-pack of campfire marshmallows
Sweet.
and managed to eat one whole box right there on his little balcony before I ever took him home.
That's
And I
funny.
got sick. I got good and sick.
So you were like the
Oh, did I get
you're like
sick?
the Stay Puft Marshmallow Woman then.
Right.
That's funny.
But I had the pennies anyway. And my father was very good at sitting you down and making you understand what you did wrong or
Mhm.
what you should have done. He'd give you a better idea. He was really good.
I always got the impression too, from what little I knew of him and I met him a long time ago, was that when he'd talk to kids, he wouldn't talk down to them. He'd explain stuff. He'd, instead of saying no
Stuffy.
or yes, that he'd actually.
He wasn't actually stuffy. He had to fight like crazy to get in the Navy because his mother was determined that he would not go to sea. And he learned a few tricks there, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But he was very fair, extremely fair. He was very good at language. That was his strong point, really good at language, writing and speaking it.
Mhm.
He could speak any language. They said he could write and speak in 6 different languages. That's quite a feat.
Now, a few years ago, you had mentioned that he was actually involved in some of the logistics or some of the planning of D-Day.
Yes, he was.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's fascinating because that was such a
Yeah.
huge operation, to say the least.
He did, and he also, of course, they spent quite a bit of time in Brazil.
Mm-hmm.
He went to Brazil and learned all about everything down there and spoke the language. He could speak any language you point him at. I mean,
Nice.
he's really good at it.
Now, you spend a lot of time out. You learned how to drive in what, Honolulu? And you
I
told me
did.
that your instructor looked very similar to Don Ho.
Yeah.
Now, when you were out there, was that because your father was stationed out
He
there?
was, yes.
Okay. Now, how many years were you out there? Were you out there a couple of years?
I
or?
went to school out there, went to high school out there,
Okay.
and loved it. And we were out there for 3 years.
And you also used to mention Daytona Beach in Florida, which I still get a kick out of because that's so infamous now for spring break.
That's more or less where they went to and stayed when they finally retired. But
Oh, okay. So when
yeah,
when your folks retired, they went to
I think
Florida.
that was it.
Okay. never knew that.
There's so much of this that I have to sit and pull it up from way down there.
Yeah. But it's fascinating.
Anne had some breast cancer.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
And it went into her bones after a bit.
It spread,
And
yeah.
It was just so painful. It was awful. We were so relieved that she died because there was just no getting around
She was
it.
in so
those
much
days,
pain.
there was nothing they could do for her,
Yeah.
apparently. And it was pretty awful. It was hard on Mom, too.
Mm-hmm.
Very hard. But and they had gone to Brazil. I was in college then.
Gotcha.
I
So
didn't
you
go to
stayed
Brazil.
behind to
Yeah, I
do
didn't
your
go to
studies.
Brazil. I went to Hawaii, and I went to school in Hawaii, and I loved every minute of it, and had some good friends out there. And
Okay.
and there was one. My very first memory is of my ama, who was a ginger-colored, tall good looking to my remembrance, gal. She wasn't white, she was not at all. And we went to Hawaii, and I remember dancing, going to some kind of a dance, and I was dancing with one of the Hawaiian members of my class, actually.
Nice.
And the professor came along and separated us
Ah,
and took me aside and said he very much disapproved of my dancing with someone of a different race.
that's sad.
And I could have smacked him across the whole continent of the United States
That's
if
funny.
I hadn't had manners.
I'm going to take a break for a minute,
Oh, good.
and when we
Good.
come back, I want to ask you a little bit about your college at Penn State. You hold on
Yeah,
a second.
Right.